Have you ever pondered the paradoxical nature of intelligence? Regardless of the depth of knowledge, sharpness of mind, or number of truths discovered, intelligence, contrary to expectations, doesn't always unlock every door. Sometimes it becomes the greatest curse. Why is it that the smartest people so often find themselves alone? Why are those who deeply understand the workings of the world often doomed to isolation? This is no coincidence. If you feel that every conversation turns into an intellectual battle, where you have to carefully weigh every word to avoid discomfort, it's worth considering. Arthur Schopenhauer once noted that intelligence isn't always an advantage, especially in the realm of human relationships. What is crystal clear to one person can be a threat to another. What seems like simple logic can become a dagger to someone's ego. Truth, bluntly stated, can be humiliating. And most people, as we know, seek comfortable sensations rather than truth. Think about how often, when sharing obvious things, you've encountered disdain in the eyes of those around you. How many times, after correcting someone, have you received only resentment and animosity instead of gratitude? Unrestrained displays of intelligence often become a source of envy, dislike, and awkwardness in others. This is the common mistake of those who overestimate the importance of knowledge alone. Possessing knowledge is not enough. You must know how to handle your intelligence cautiously and tactfully, like a subtle but effective weapon, rather than flaunting it like a banner in the wind. Arthur Schopenhauer aptly called this skill the art of pretending to be a fool. Of course, this isn't about literally appearing stupid, but about understanding that in certain situations, the ability to downplay your abilities can be a skillful and wise move. The point isn't to abandon your intelligence, but to use it strategically, considering the context and goals. When seeking respect, don't flaunt your knowledge. If you want your opinion to be heard, avoid a lecturing tone and constant corrections. If your goal is influence, don't intimidate those around you with your intellect. It's wiser to allow others to come to the realization of the truth independently, under your gentle guidance. Just look around to notice that it's not always the most erudite who succeed in society, but those who skillfully navigate the complex intricacies of human relationships. Those who have mastered the art of subtlety understand that truth, spoken at the wrong time, can wound, and the envy of mediocrities can erect insurmountable obstacles on the path to success. This isn't a call to demean oneself or languish in mediocrity. On the contrary, true intelligence isn't wasted on fruitless arguments or the obsessive desire to prove one's infallibility. True reason manifests in the ability to remain silent at the right time, and in the ability to dose the demonstration of one's strength, skillfully pretending to be simple when necessary. Imagine this scenario. A person is in a meeting, and suddenly one of the attendees utters something outrageously absurd. The natural impulse is to point out the mistake, to expose them, but it's worth stopping and thinking, is the game worth the candle? What benefit can be gained from this? Will it change their worldview? Most likely not. The only thing that can be achieved is to hurt their ego, because no one likes to feel stupid or admit their delusions. Therefore, instead of this, it's worth smiling, nodding almost imperceptibly, and letting the conversation flow. This isn't a manifestation of cowardice, but a sign of wisdom, an understanding that not every mistake needs to be corrected, and sometimes the best solution is to allow a person to wallow in their own ignorance. Arthur Schopenhauer once remarked with ruthless candor that fools have a certain advantage over sages, and this isn't due to their imaginary superiority, but to the fact that the world around them seems to be created specifically for them. Society is favorably disposed towards mediocrity because it's convenient and doesn't pose any threat to the established order of things. Ordinary people tend to unite, protect each other, and move up the social ladder among their own kind. While a truly gifted person, if they don't have enough wisdom to skillfully manage their intelligence, often finds themselves alone, misunderstood, and rejected. This is where the real game begins, requiring a subtle understanding of human nature. It's not necessary to become part of the gray mass, but it's also not advisable to engage in open confrontation with it. There's a certain golden mean, an ideal balance between two extremes. If necessary, you can pretend to be simple, playing a role that meets the expectations of others, creating a false impression of your abilities, in order to surprise them with your true potential at the right moment. History knows many such examples. Outstanding strategists never demonstrated their full power from the very beginning, preferring to act gradually. The best poker players never revealed their cards ahead of time, maintaining intrigue until the very end. Historical figures on the scale of Napoleon Bonaparte, Leonardo da Vinci, and Nikola Tesla intuitively felt the immense power hidden in prudence, skillful manipulation, and even skillfully played pretense. They were united by an understanding of the harsh truth. The world, seeing excessive brilliance and outstanding abilities in someone, inevitably seeks to dim that light. Society, faced with wisdom that surpasses the generally accepted, often tries to belittle and ground its bearer. Demonstrating intelligence in full, without any restraint, can cause animosity and rejection. And this isn't due to the personal qualities of the upstart, but to the painful reaction of the human ego to any manifestation of superiority. However, by choosing the path of cunning and diplomacy, having learned to dose your intelligence, presenting yourself as an accessible and understandable person, you can avoid envy and dislike. In this case, no one will notice the approach, no one will perceive it as a threat. And at the crucial moment, when it's really necessary, you can unleash all your power without encountering resistance. This isn't a manifestation of cowardice, but a carefully thought-out strategy. In a world where mediocrity often becomes the norm, the key to success and survival is the ability to remain silent, skillfully disguise yourself, move in the shadows when necessary, and reveal your true brilliance only when it really matters. Unbridled intelligence can become a real curse, while reason, directed with surgical precision, turns into the most powerful tool available to man. The next time fate brings you face to face with an ignorant crowd or involves you in a discussion with people who are not ready to accept the truth, remember, there's no need to prove anything, win every argument, or correct every mistake. Only fools waste energy striving to demonstrate their superiority every minute. The wise play with time, perception, and patience. Appearing less significant than you really are isn't a betrayal of your intelligence, but, on the contrary, the most brilliant move in your arsenal. And here's the next level of this strategy. Pretending to be simple is just the tip of the iceberg, the main tool for maneuvering in a world of mediocrity, allowing you not to attract undue attention. But if you strive to master this game perfectly, you need to realize one more important aspect: the power of strategic invisibility. Think about it. Who were the most influential figures in history? In the ever-changing kaleidoscope of life, a dilemma arises. Who leaves a greater mark on history? Those who loudly proclaim their triumphs to the whole world, or those who prefer to act gradually, remaining in the shadows? The answer seems to lie on the surface. Human nature is such that people are afraid of the unknown, and what is hidden from the eyes cannot become an object of attack. By remaining unnoticed, an individual protects themselves from ill-wishers, avoids envy and intrigues that can destroy the boldest undertakings. History knows many examples when the most far-sighted and influential figures mastered the art of secrecy to perfection. They didn't need the approval of the crowd, didn't seek confirmation of their significance, and didn't strive for constant recognition. Their path is the path of those who move imperceptibly, building their plans in silence and not publicizing their every step. While others waste energy on the struggle for attention, they work tirelessly, and when the world finally realizes their presence, it turns out that it's already too late. The game has already been played in their favor. This concept has such a powerful force that it's reflected even in the world of nature. The most effective predators are not those who make noise, but those who creep silently, merging with the environment. The snake doesn't warn about the deadliness of its venom. The tiger doesn't roar before the jump. The sniper doesn't reveal their position before the shot. In the wild jungle, on the battlefield, in everyday life, the ability to remain unnoticed becomes a valuable asset, giving a huge advantage. And here's what's especially remarkable. The more modest a person's profile, the more freedom they gain. Secrecy opens doors to new opportunities, allowing you to act without restrictions and avoid unnecessary attention. It's inherent in human nature to avoid what doesn't pose a threat. If someone demonstrates their harmlessness, lack of ambition, and doesn't create the impression of a rival, they remain in the shadows, outside the field of view of competitors. While others are busy fighting for recognition and a place in the sun, such a person quietly prepares for the decisive blow. The mistakes of others are always in sight and become the subject of discussion, while their own mistakes remain unnoticed. In case of failure, no one pays attention to them, and success is perceived as a sudden and stunning surprise. This is how this strategic game unfolds. However, it's important to remember that invisibility doesn't mean insignificance. It's not about completely disappearing from view, but about being able to appear at the right moment. It's important to be in the right place at the right time, and not waste your energy on meaningless arguments and the struggle for attention. True leaders and geniuses don't participate in every discussion, don't engage in meaningless disputes, and don't strive to be in the spotlight. They're immersed in their own world, where they quietly make plans, observe what's happening, and wait for the perfect moment to act. While most people spend their energy on proving their own significance, a wise strategist saves energy for the decisive breakthrough. The desire for recognition and the thirst for confirmation of one's own significance push some on the path of self-exhibition, where every action becomes an attempt to prove their intelligence and importance. However, in this endeavor, they often overplay their hand, making their mistakes obvious, their plans predictable, and their moves easily blocked. Is such a strategy really justified? It's much more effective to learn to play with time, not to rush to reveal all the cards at the beginning of the game. Observation and analysis are the tools that allow you to assess people, identify their weaknesses, and reveal their true intentions. And when the moment for action comes, the move should be so accurate and verified that no one can resist it. Patience is the most underrated weapon in the strategist's arsenal. In a world where most people are obsessed with immediate results and instant gratification, it's impatience that causes their defeats. A patient player who knows how to wait and analyze will always have an advantage over the impulsive. As Napoleon said, "Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake." This rule applies in life as well. People constantly demonstrate their weaknesses, insecurities, and vulnerabilities. Observation and the ability to wait allow you to use these moments to your advantage. Ultimately, it remains only to observe the development of events. Striving for genuine influence, one should abandon the pursuit of publicity and the constant search for approval. It's necessary to stop demonstrating one's knowledge and start thinking strategically. While others waste energy on proving their own significance, the true strategist remains one step ahead, acting imperceptibly, being out of reach, and thus becoming unstoppable. The exciting stage of the game is coming: perception management. Mimicking foolishness isn't just a defensive maneuver, but a powerful weapon. Invisibility isn't just a shelter, but also a tactical technique that allows you to shape reality in your favor. The world judges a person not by their true essence, but by how they are perceived by others. It doesn't matter how talented, wise, or ingenious a person is. If they see a threat in them, they are isolated. If they are perceived as a pawn, they are manipulated. If they see a resource in them, they are exploited. If they are considered an ordinary person, they are simply ignored. However, here lies the key point. An individual has the ability to shape the impression they make on others. There's no need to strive for universal recognition as a genius, to possess unsurpassed strength, intelligence, or skill. It's enough just to be able to appear in the image that corresponds to the current situation. People are often mistaken, believing that human communication is always sincere and devoid of hidden motives. They naively assume that the interlocutor is conducting a conversation without pursuing any selfish goals. However, such a view is a childish mistake. Every interaction between people, even the most insignificant conversation, represents a kind of exchange of power. In any communication, there's a certain dynamic: who controls the situation, who directs the course of the conversation, who influences the other. The one who knows how to dominate in the formation of perception is the one who gains power over reality. Just look at how the true rulers of this world act. They don't strive to be the loudest or to be in the spotlight. Their strength lies in the ability to imperceptibly control the course of events, to direct the narrative. They allow others to believe in their independence, while they skillfully manipulate the situation, remaining in the shadows. Skillful influence lies in the details. Have you ever observed how some individuals casually achieve what they want without creating the feeling of a request? How certain people instill their ideas into the minds of others, avoiding direct imposition? This isn't an accident, but a honed skill. And here's the difference between those who succeed in this game and those who become pawns. Insightful people consider it a victory to prove their rightness, while wise people rejoice when they convince others of the independence of their conclusions. This is where the strategy of pretending to be simple reveals its insidious potential. It's not just about avoiding confrontation, but about imperceptibly managing others, about creating the illusion that the idea belongs to them, the decision was made by them, and the power has always been in their hands. After all, if you believe that intelligence is just possessing more knowledge than others, you are only skimming the surface. True intelligence lies in the ability to direct the world according to your will, remaining unnoticed by this world. To achieve this goal, it's necessary to master the art of indirect suggestion. Imagine a dilemma. What is more important, to prove your rightness in a dispute, or to imperceptibly push the interlocutor to the desired action, leaving them confident that this is their own decision? This is the fundamental difference between arrogance and true mastery. Arrogance craves recognition, while mastery is content with only the end result. The most interesting thing is that people unconditionally accept ideas that seem to them to be the product of their own mind. Direct persuasion provokes a defensive reaction. The ego rebels, feeling under attack. However, if you skillfully guide the conversation, placing subtle hints and creating the illusion of independence, the person comes to the desired conclusion, and the resistance disappears. The art of indirect suggestion is a powerful tool to master. Combined with strategic invisibility and a mask of innocence, it makes a person practically invulnerable. After all, the main secret that many refuse to admit is that genuine influence remains unnoticed. When influence becomes obvious, the art of manipulation suffers a fiasco. Genuine impact occurs imperceptibly, like a natural development of the course of thoughts, not meeting resistance. Let's recall outstanding strategists. They avoid direct clashes and don't strive for excessive attention. Their skill lies in the ability to convince others that decisions are made by them independently. This same principle can be applied in everyday life. It's important to learn to skillfully sow doubts without offering ready-made answers, to guide with questions rather than orders, and to provide a choice where each option leads to the desired result. The key moment is the ability to retreat, creating the illusion of control on the other side. At the moment of apparent victory, vigilance is dulled, protection weakens, and that's when the decisive moment comes. This is the pinnacle of social intelligence, distinguishing leaders from observers. Unbridled intelligence only breeds enemies, while skillfully directed intelligence creates empires. In a world where everyone strives to assert their superiority, a dilemma arises, whether to be the one who desperately demonstrates their intellect or the one who imperceptibly manages events, remaining in the shadows. It's important to remember that success accompanies not so much the possessor of the most extensive knowledge, but the one who knows how to effectively apply their mind at the right moment. Before completing this cycle of reflections, it's worth realizing the key principle that often escapes the attention of most. All the strategies discussed earlier, pretending to be ignorant, strategic invisibility, perception management, patience as a powerful weapon, serve a higher goal. It's not just about avoiding trouble or achieving superiority in social interactions. The goal is much deeper, to become unattainable. Unattainability isn't physical isolation, but a state when nothing and no one can influence a person, stop them, or harm them. This is the highest degree of independence and control over one's life. History knows many figures whose influence on the course of events was truly colossal. However, looking closely at their life path, one can notice one common feature. They didn't strive at all costs to earn universal approval, didn't allow the opinion of the crowd to dictate their terms, and didn't waste energy on countless disputes. These people were, as they say, unattainable. And in this lies a bitter but important truth. The more a person is susceptible to external influence, the easier it is to manage them. Succumbing to provocation, they turn into a puppet, pulled by the strings of someone else's will. Constantly needing confirmation of their own significance, they open the doors for manipulators. Feeling the need to prove their worth every minute, they doom themselves to defeat in advance. But there's another way. Having learned to act imperceptibly, to influence gradually, having realized that true strength lies in the ability to rise above momentary reactions, a person becomes invulnerable. Having reached this state, they understand that the most effective move is the one that doesn't require explanations. They realize that there's no need to enter into every battle and prove anything to anyone. Such a person becomes truly dangerous for a world full of people prone to impulsive actions, rash words, and falling into the set nets. They, on the contrary, choose strategy, patience, and subtle calculation. They don't need constant recognition because they know that actions speak louder than words. And it's these actions, and not the pursuit of publicity, that determine their true value. So, the culminating moment arrives, because if the reader has reached this point, it means that subconsciously they already realize this. The presented ideas only formalized what they always felt, but couldn't clearly articulate. Now, two paths open before them. The first is to return to the former routine, like most, reacting to every provocation, wasting energy in fruitless disputes, and striving to confirm their rightness. However, there's another option: to start acting differently, applying the knowledge gained in practice. This means more observation and less talking, patiently planning one's actions, controlling the perception of others, selectively approaching the choice of time for actions and moments when it's better to remain in the shadows, to become someone whom the world cannot calculate or predict. The choice remains with the reader, but it's worth remembering. The most dangerous players are those who understand that the best move is a victory won even before anyone noticed the start of the game. If the reader has absorbed everything discussed above, it's proposed to leave a comment. Silence is my advantage to indicate their belonging to those who are ready to move in a new way. And if this material turned out to be useful, it's recommended to subscribe to the channel, because the content that will be published here is intended for those who don't want to be just one of many, but strive to play for real in this world. The author says goodbye to their viewers, promising a new meeting in the next video. They leave a parting word, full of deep meaning. It's worth remembering that people who create a lot of noise and bustle are often unable to notice impending changes or dangers. At the same time, those who move forward quietly and focused, not attracting undue attention, have a better chance of seeing important events in time and successfully adapting to them. This thought calls for modesty, attentiveness, and the ability to concentrate on one's goals, not wasting energy on empty talk and self-promotion.